I'm holding a 2-page service memo right now that wasn't supposed to leave a Honda dealer's back office. It's dated October of 2022, stamped as an internal technical advisory, and it references the L15B7 1.5-liter turbo engine that lives in millions of Civics, CR-Vs, and Accords from 2016 through 2022. And buried in the third paragraph, there's a part number, roughly an $8 O-ring and cam follower kit, that the memo recommends inspecting every 60,000 miles. Here's the part that stopped me. That recommendation appears nowhere in the owner's manual, nowhere in the standard maintenance schedule. According to a circulating dealer memo making the rounds in Honda technician forums, this single $8 part may be the difference between an engine that lasts 200,000 miles and one that starts diluting its own oil with raw fuel by the time you hit 80,000. Now, let me explain why an $8 part can matter more than the $300 synthetic oil change you just paid for. Because most people, when they think about engine longevity, they think oil, they think filters, they think fluids. But the modern direct injection turbocharged engine has a completely different failure mode than the engines your dad worked on. These engines don't usually die from worn bearings or blown head gaskets anymore. They die quietly, from fuel contaminating the oil, from carbon coating the intake valves like burnt sugar on a stovetop, and from tiny pressure leaks that compound over years. And the irony is brutal. You can do every oil change on time, use the exact synthetic Honda recommends, baby the car through its break-in period, and still end up with an engine that's slowly eating itself from the inside. Because the part causing the damage isn't part of any scheduled service. It's not on the receipt. It's not on the dashboard reminder. It's just sitting there, wearing down a few microns at a time, until the symptoms finally show up. And by then, the repair bill jumps from $8 to $8,000. That's the gap this memo is trying to close, and that's why we need to talk about it. So let's establish where this information actually comes from, because I don't want anyone running with a claim that doesn't hold up. The memo I'm referencing has been independently described by at least 3 Honda Master technicians on closed industry forums, and the part numbers track with the same O-ring and follower kit Honda parts counters have been quietly selling to dealer service departments for years. I cross-referenced the bulletin language with a Honda technician based in the Midwest who's been working on the L15B7 since it launched, and he told me, in his words, that the issue is a known internal conversation. His exact phrase was that it's a quiet TSB, the kind that exists in service portals, but never gets escalated into a public recall or campaign because the failure window is just long, enough to fall outside the standard warranty for most owners. In my assessment, that's the most damning part of this, not the wear itself, which is honestly just a side effect of how direct injection turbo engines work. It's that the maintenance recommendation never made it into the owner's manual. So now let's get into what's actually happening inside that engine. Because once you understand the mechanism, you'll understand why the $8 fix is so important. The L15B7 engine uses 2 systems that are absolutely critical to its long-term health, and both of them get almost no attention from the average driver. The first is the PCV system, that stands for positive crankcase ventilation. The second is the high-pressure fuel pump, or HPFP, which is what makes direct injection possible in the first place. Let's start with the PCV, because that's the one that goes bad slowest, and that's also the one most people have never even heard of. Your engine, every time it runs, creates a small amount of pressure inside the crankcase. Combustion gases slip past the piston rings, fuel vapors evaporate off. The oil, and over time, that pressure has to go somewhere. The PCV valve is the one-way door that lets those gases route back into the intake to be reburned, instead of just venting out and polluting the air. It's an elegant little system. But here's the things. The PCV check valve in the 1.5 turbo is exposed to boost pressure on one side. And when you spool that turbo up, that little valve has to slam shut hard every single time to keep boost pressure from reversing back into the crankcase. Now imagine a screen door hinge. Brand new, it swings smoothly, snaps shut perfectly, seals tight. But leave that door out in the weather for 5 or 6 years, and the hinge starts to gum up. Sand gets in, lubricant dries out, the spring weakens. Pretty soon it doesn't slam shut anymore. It kind of drifts shut, leaving a tiny gap. That's almost exactly what happens to the PCV check valve on the L15B7 under repeated boost cycles. It doesn't fail catastrophically, it just stops sealing perfectly. And once that happens, every boost event pushes a small puff of pressurized intake air, fuel mist, and oil vapor where it doesn't belong. That oily, fuel-rich vapor then gets sucked back through the intake on the next cycle where it bakes onto the back of your intake valves. Because remember, these are direct injection engines. The fuel doesn't wash over the valves anymore. It goes straight into the cylinder. So whatever crud the PCV system pushes onto those valves just sits there and cooks, building up layer after layer of carbon, slowly choking the airflow, slowly killing your fuel economy, slowly causing those rough idles and misfires that people start complaining about around 80 to 100,000 miles. Stay with me, because the second half of this is where the $8 part actually comes in. Now let's talk about the high-pressure fuel pump and the cam follower, because this is where the real damage is happening. Direct injection requires fuel pressure that's almost incomprehensible compared to old port-injected engines. We're talking somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 psi, sometimes higher. To generate that kind of pressure, the L15B7 uses a mechanical pump driven directly off a lobe on the intake camshaft. And between that cam lobe and the pump plunger, there's a small bucket-shaped piece of metal called a cam follower. Sometimes people call it a tappet. Its job is to convert the rotating motion of the cam lobe into the up and down motion that pressurizes the fuel. Here's the problem. That cam follower is taking thousands of pounds per square inch hammer blow against its face, 3,000 times a minute, every minute the engine runs. The contact patch is microscopic. The lubrication is just whatever engine oil splashes onto it. And the metallurgy of the follower face is harder than the cam lobe, but not infinitely hard. Over tens of thousands of miles, the follower face starts to develop a tiny depression, a wear pattern. Honda technicians who've pulled these followers describe it like the dimple at the bottom of a beer can, except it's eating into hardened steel. And as that dimple forms, two things go wrong. First, the fuel pressure starts dropping slightly, which the engine compensates for by injecting longer pulses. That means more fuel, less efficiency, and more fuel vapor making its way past the rings into the crankcase where it dilutes your oil. Second, the metal that's wearing off the follower has to go somewhere, and where it goes is into your oil supply, where it can act like extremely fine sandpaper on every other moving part in the engine. According to multiple field reports from independent shops, this wear pattern shows up reliably between 45,000 and 70,000 miles on examples that see hard driving, short trips, or extended oil change intervals. That's why the Memo flags 60,000 as the inspection point. The $8 part, the O-ring and follower kit, is what fixes both halves of this. The O-ring reseals the high pressure pump where it mates to the cylinder head, which eliminates a known weak point that gets worse with thermal cycling. And the new follower restores the flat, smooth contact face between the cam lobe and the pump, which restores full fuel pressure and stops the metal shedding cycle. It's a 30-minute job for a competent tech, and the parts are sold across Honda's own parts counter. The question is just whether your service advisor ever told you about it. Most of the time they didn't. Let me describe what an actual inspection looks like, because I want you to know what to ask for if you walk into a shop. The technician removes the engine cover and the two electrical connectors going to the high-pressure fuel pump. Then they remove the two pump mounting bolts, and this is important. They do it slowly and evenly because spring pressure inside the pump pushes back hard. With the pump out, the follower drops into the technician's hand. They flip it over and look at the face. A good follower has a mirror-smooth, slightly polished surface. A worn follower has a visible concave dish, sometimes with rough scoring lines, and in advanced cases, the metal can have actual pitting that looks like the surface of the moon under a flashlight. I've seen photographs from 3 independent Honda shops showing followers pulled from L15B7 engines at 58, 63, and 71,000 miles. 2 of the 3 had measurable concavity. The 71,000-mile example had visible scoring. In every case, the matching O-ring was either compressed, hardened, or showed a slight fuel weep pattern around the mating surface. None of these engines were throwing check engine lights at the time. None of them had triggered a single warranty claim. The cars were running, the drivers were happy, and the damage was quietly progressing underneath. Here's what I want you to take from this, because the next 30 seconds matters. If you pulled the oil cap on those engines and smelled it, you'd catch the unmistakable whiff of gasoline. That's fuel dilution. It's measurable. Blackstone Labs, the oil analysis company, has published their findings on direct injection engines for years. And the L15B7 consistently shows fuel content in the oil above 3% on extended drain intervals, which is roughly double what's considered healthy for long-term engine life. Replacing the follower and O-ring at 60,000 miles may help reduce fuel dilution, may help restore proper rail pressure, and may help slow the carbon buildup on the intake valves by reducing the amount of unburned fuel making its way through the PCV system. None of these are guaranteed outcomes, but the mechanical logic is sound, the field evidence is consistent, and the cost is laughably small compared to the alternative. Now, I have to be fair to Honda here, because this is where the official position gets interesting. Honda's published maintenance schedule for the 1.5 turbo engine does not include any scheduled service for the PCV valve or the high-pressure fuel pump. Their position, as stated in the Standard Owner's Manual and Dealer Service Guidelines, is that these components are designed for the life of the engine. and do not require periodic inspection or replacement under normal operating conditions. And honestly, that position isn't crazy on paper. Most engines, including Honda's older naturally aspirated designs, really did go their entire lives without anyone touching the PCV system. So from a corporate policy standpoint, applying the same logic to the new turbo engine isn't outrageous. The problem is that the new turbo engine isn't the old engine. The combination of direct injection, forced induction, low-tension piston rings designed for fuel economy, and aggressive thermostat strategies designed to hit emissions targets, all of that creates an operating environment the older PCV and fuel pump assumptions weren't built for. In my assessment, Honda's published position reflects engineering assumptions made when the engine was launched in 2016, and the field data that's accumulated since then suggests those assumptions may have been optimistic. That's not a scandal. That's just how real-world engineering tends to work. The spec sheet says one thing, the road tells you another, and the bulletins quietly catch up over time. What's frustrating, and what I think is fair to point out, is that Honda hasn't updated the public maintenance schedule to reflect what their own internal technical advisories appear to acknowledge. Owners shouldn't have to find this information through leaked memos, forum posts, and independent shop reports. They should be able to walk into a dealership at 60,000 miles and have the service writer say, "Hey, while we're doing your oil change, let's pull and inspect this follower." The fact that this conversation has to happen on YouTube instead of in service bays is, in my opinion, the actual story here. So let me give you the playbook you can actually use. If you own a 2016 through 2022 Honda Civic, CR-V, or Accord with a 1.5-liter turbo engine, here's what I'd recommend doing. If your car has between 50,000 and 65,000 miles on it, schedule an inspection at a shop that's familiar with the L15B7. That can be a Honda dealership, but it can also be an independent specialist. And honestly, the independents are often more willing to take the time to actually pull the pump and look. Ask specifically for an inspection of the high-pressure fuel pump cam follower and the pump mounting O-ring. Reference the symptom set if you have to. Fuel dilution, intake valve carbon, occasional cold start roughness. If your car is past 65,000 miles and you've never had this inspected, in my assessment, you're not in emergency territory, but you're operating without a safety net. I'd schedule the inspection within the next few oil changes, not put it off for another year. The parts cost is minimal, the labor is modest, and the peace of mind, especially if you're planning to keep this car past 150,000 miles, is worth quite a bit. Now, if you're already noticing symptoms, and pay close attention here, if you're smelling gasoline when you pull the oil cap, if your oil level on the dipstick is mysteriously rising between changes, if you're noticing a faint fuel smell in the cabin under hard acceleration, or if you've had any unexplained misfire codes, those are the warning signs that the follower wear may already be advanced, and the fuel dilution may already be measurable. If that's you, don't wait for the next scheduled service. Get the inspection done in the next 2 weeks. Because once metal starts shedding into the oil at a meaningful rate, you're no longer protecting an $8 part. You're racing against the clock on the entire bottom end of the engine. For everyone else, here's the simpler version. If you're under 50,000 miles, keep doing what you're doing. But make a calendar note to revisit this conversation when you hit 60. If you're a short trip stop and go driver, consider shortening your oil change interval slightly, because fuel dilution is worst on engines that don't get up to full operating temperature on every drive. And if you're at all mechanically inclined, this is a job you can watch closely or even attempt yourself with a torque wrench, a clean workspace, and an afternoon. Though I'd recommend having a shop do it the first time so you know what a good follower is supposed to look like. This is the kind of information that should be on the first page of the owner's manual, and instead, it's sitting in a leaked memo and a handful of technician forums. So here's the favor I'm asking. If you know somebody driving a Civic, a CR-V, or an Accord with the 1.5 turbo, send them this video. Don't make it weird. Just text it to them and say, "Hey, you might want to watch this." Because the people who need this information are exactly the people who'd never go looking for it on their own. And drop the part number for that O-ring and follower kit in the comments if you've already replaced yours, so other owners can find it without digging. Subscribe if you want me to follow up when more of these quiet bulletins surface, because this isn't the only one, it's just the cheapest one. Pull your oil cap this weekend, take a sniff, and if you smell fuel, you already know what to do next.